All right, getting rock. Okay, so let's get started here. It is 8:04. Anybody that wants to come should already be here. If not, they'll just jump on in and join us as we continue on. So welcome everyone to our industry insight session here. We do this to help give you, the students, some insights and some extra knowledge from us, the instructors here, as you continue along with your degree. We offer these up just to kind of get a feel for what's going on out in the industry and some information and stuff that we've experienced. So overall, just to help you in your quest and your goals to be a filmmaker and stuff like that. So hopefully this kind of stuff can help you learn from our mistakes so you don't have to make them and you can just be successful. Okay. Tonight, this is the directing industry insight with Sandra Lee and Gerald Wu. Myself, I will be your host this evening. Sorry, John, I didn't get you a special guest slide, but that's okay. You're featured all the way. So my name is Trent Duncan. I am an instructor here at the LA Film School, a US Navy veteran. I'm sure we have a couple of the veterans here. Shout out to all my veteran friends. I got myself a associate's in science degree in film production technology, and then my bachelor's in business marketing. And I said, well, I have a few more credits left on my GI Bill, so let me just get a master's in film studies. So it's been a fun journey grabbing those and utilizing those and learning a lot in that way. I also have a film festival. So it's called the End of Days Film Festival, an apocalyptic themed film festival. So that's something fun that I do to kind of see what's out there. So I get a lot of scripts locally and internationally. And so it's a good way to kind of see what other people are making and how folks are progressing, in the independent film world. And of course, I'm an indie filmmaker and producer myself. I do a lot of short films. I have a YouTube channel with some horror battles on it. So lots of fun stuff. But enough about me. Let's talk about our special guest. I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about Sandra Lee first. She is one of our main panelists. So Miss Sandra, welcome. Let's go ahead and have you introduce yourself.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Sandra Lee. Nice to meet you all and see you all tonight. Thank you so much for joining us for this panel. We really appreciate your time and further study with us today. So only the good stuff. I'm a writer, director, producer. So I don't see myself as just a director, writer, director, producer. I'm an expert in story development and screenwriting first. And so that's what really drives my directing is my writing. To get my writing produced is why I direct. I should be honest about it. And so I direct short and feature narrative and documentary works. I, in the past, have worked in Los Angeles for Miramax Films, Columbia Pictures, and Wendy Feinerman Productions, and ICM Partners in Los Angeles, as I said. My bachelor's is in radio, television, and film from a school in Illinois called Bradley, and my MFA is from Chapman University at Dodge College, which I'm a big fan of our film school there. So that's where I was trained, and I'm most proud of my career for teaching, writing, directing, and producing for the last 16 years. This term. And so like my joy in life, my inspiration in life, everything is about teaching, directing, producing, and writing with you all here at the LA Film School.
Right. Thank you, Sandra. Definitely some great credentials, some insights for you guys. So next here, let's hit it up and let's continue on. Gerald, go ahead and give us the short and skinny about yourself there, Gerald.
Okay, guys. Hi, welcome. My name is Gerald Wu. Welcome to the panel and learning about directing. It is something that everyone strives to be and everyone can be. It's just all a mindset. That's all it is. So you can learn the craft like I did. I was born and raised in New York. I went to Rutgers University. I got a bachelor's degree in television production. I have been in the industry straight when I was in college for 35 plus years. It'll be 36 coming up soon in May. I have worked with many of the famous people in all different types, directors, writers, actors, all of them. I've worked in 48 states across the country. I am a member of the Directors Guild of America. I worked in a New York City production company when I first started out, and I was a PA there. I started like everybody else and worked my way up. In 4 months, I became producer, and I produced over 400 commercials there before I moved to other states. I've worked in LA, I've worked in Chicago, Texas, Florida, everywhere. I've worked in features, commercials, live shows, scripted game shows, sporting events. The only thing I have not worked on and I will not work on is soap operas because I just don't like them. And it's funny because I actually got an offer to go on one way back in the 90s and I said no. And the soap opera lasted 27 years. So maybe I should have rethought that.
Wow.
So if you guys have any questions, let me know. I know all about the DGA, as you see behind me, because I am a member. And I know about the Dga Training Program. And I know about being a director. I have done that professionally. I produced, like I said, over 400 commercials. I was a first AD in the DGA also. So I have done feature films there and big name ones with Dennis Hopper. I worked with a lot of other people in that kind of realm. I was a cinematographer. As you see the picture of it there, I am a big Arri fan. So that is the main cameras that I use. And I've stage managed lots of shows, including Miss Universe and Miss America pageants and a couple award shows. And I'll just leave it at that. And if you guys have any questions, you can talk to me after so we can get on with this.
All right. Thank you, Gerald. I appreciate it. So definitely a lot of experience between our two panelists here with Sandra and Gerald. So they're going to be fighting over your questions this evening. And we have a lot of good topics that we're going to cover here. All right. And so without further ado, I say we get into it and just start off quick here. I know Gerald helped to compile this list. So we're going to just go in and kind of knock some of these out. And I'll feature them here and I'll kind of close this. We don't have to share it the whole time, but let's just start with the director's book. Okay. And so how important is a director's book? What kind of information you want to put in a director's book? Let's just start with the basics of what a director's book is and how that helps you as a director or want to be an aspiring director. So Gerald, you want to kick it off here?
Sure. You know, the director's book is a very vague term because different people consider the director's book a different thing. Now, most people consider it like the main things, like the screenplay or script. It could be the breakdown in there. It could be the shot list, the shooting schedule, and all that stuff. Okay, but the director's book for me, my main Bible when I'm on set is the script. Okay, and I have all my notes in the script as it is. You know, I let my first AD deal with a lot of the logistic stuff. So like the shooting schedule, shot list, I give it all to those guys or the DP, sorry. So the script is what I look at. And on the script, there's the right column margin, and then there's a left column. And I put my notes on those two columns. And this way I have everything with me at all times. And it never leaves my sight. It's always in my back pocket, if you guys have ever seen me on set. So to me, that's what the director's book is about.
So would it be safe to say like the director's book goes kind of hand in hand with the production books? I know a lot of our students, when they go through classes, they have to compile a production book, which has all the details and things. Is that kind of the same thing we're talking about here?
Not necessarily. The production book is mainly for the office staff, and that becomes the legal tender of everything that the production has that is done for the production. So the production book is different than the director's book.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Sandra, so some comments on director's books. How much have you done them in the past? How much do you like doing them? Or maybe you just keep it all memorized and you don't let anybody take your ideas. It's all inside your head, so they can't fire you. What do you think?
Yes, for me, like the director's book is number one most important thing of directing in my eyes. And so to highlight our directing one class, it's everything we do in that class. So in pre-production, like the director should mark and break down their script with a bracketed shooting script. And then from that have create their overhead shot diagrams that then they work with the DP on, their shot list, which, you know, they communicate that to the AD, their storyboards, their beat breakdown, which, you know, highlights which beats that they need to make sure that they direct and work with the talent on. And those are definitely the main one, two, three. I've got them written down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things in the first part of the in the director's book that are super important and to have on set, as Gerald said, in in your back pocket that you're carrying with you all the time. And really what you're working on in pre-production, that is so very important, that I feel like you can't direct unless you have these completed. And I feel like you can't communicate unless you have these completed. And so also working with the actor on your tri-dimensional character breakdown so that you understand the character and where you see the character, so you can work with actors on how they've broken down their character, because different actors will break down characters different ways, and likewise for directors. And so for your mood board, also working with your production designer on the board. The production designer will bring you that board and you'll review it together and say what options you like and don't like. And so all of those we require in our directing 1 class. And I just want to say, like, that's everything to me as a director, are those documents.
Excellent.
And Trent, I want to add a couple things that Sandra mentioned, that she mentioned a perfectly good examples there. You got to understand that as the director, you're responsible for everything on set at all times. Therefore, your brain can't function and remember everything all the time. So these sheets, which are complex in its own and take serious amount of time to make and create, they are literally good cheat sheets for you to make sure you're consistent on set. You're going to get questions from every department all the time, even from the first AD, and you got to make sure you have the answer right away. So it's so easy when it's in your back pocket. You could just pull it out, flip through it, and say, here is the answer. And I've done it many times. And not only does it make you look great and make you look like you're, on top of your game there, but it also makes sure you give accurate information to the people around you and below you, because you want to make sure that they're going to do a good job for you and be, consistent with what they're doing too. So make sure everything flows nicely and smoothly.
Excellent points. Yeah, over communication is very important there in that regard. And I've subbed for both you guys in your directing 1 and directing 2 classes. And let me just say, there is a big difference between students, the quality of students' project that have a very in-depth, detailed production book when they do that pre-production work, and the folks that just kind of, I'll just figure it out later, and they just kind of throw some information down, but they don't really dive deep into it, because what the production book helps you visualize what's going on. And I often tell the students, films are made in pre-production. Okay, the fun stuff happens on set, but really pre-production is when you get the nitty-gritty of your films being made. So let's not discount the quality of that production book and how important, the director's book, and how important it is to you as a director and the success of your project. All right, so let's roll into working with actors, because everybody as a director, you got to work with an actor, right? Sometime here and there. So we know there's good experiences and bad experience. So let's start with pre-production and casting, how to cast actors, casting calls, and then the process and the evolution of bringing them on board, and then working with them on set, and then afterwards. I think that's a fair area to start, since it's such a broad topic. So Gerald, you want to kick us off with, if this is an indie film production, how would you go about casting, hiring, bringing actors on board, and then working with them and their roles?
Okay, well, there's many ways to do it. I mean, obviously, you can start casting through various social media platforms nowadays. I mean, back when I started, it was more of going through a casting agent, working that way, setting up space for them to come in, to read sides, and do all the auditioning part, videotape it so you can watch it later and then pick who you want. Nowadays, they can send you a tape, or they can send you something through email or Dropbox. But the most important thing when you're casting is, as a director, you have a vision of the script, and that is primary right there, and always stay with it. Okay, no matter what. The second thing is, you must find that person, male or female, that matches the characters that you are searching for. It is your responsibility. It is your choice, and make sure you pick the right one, because if you don't, it's going to be a disaster, and it's your fault. Okay, so the director has that ability to pick the person they want, Everybody's going to have their 2 cents. Everyone's going to have their opinion, but you need to make sure you are absolutely convinced that that person is going to do it. And there are many times where I have casted somebody. I've had some doubts in the beginning, but you know what? With a little persuasion and a little talking of you and giving, a little support to the actor, they can become that person. So you have to take that casting very seriously, because that is what the film is mostly about, is the actor's performance.
Excellent. Good points. Good points. So let's go, Sandra, now. So working with actors, let's move to working with actors on set. So let's talk a little bit about how you present them with the script and their character, and then how you kind of roll that into, hey, this is your role. This is how I want to see you. How important is it to be tactful when you talk with actors? Because obviously they come to the table too with the vision of the character they have. So you two have to kind of meld your ideas together. So let's talk a little bit about that process there of kind of bringing your ideas and the actors together to make this one character.
Yeah, so as you said, like pre-production, Trent, is the most important. And so as much as you can meet with talent in pre-production, as much as possible to put talent first, the better. And I fail at this actually a lot because I'm too into the technical or working on my director's book. And always, I'm like the actors, working on their own role and they understand what they're doing. And I believe that's a great failure because as much as you can get together with them in pre-production and know each other, the better. And that's my main note there, and go over the character with them in advance and show them what you're doing in your director's book also, so that they trust you. They know that you are working as hard as you possibly can for the best possible film, and you're working as hard as they are. And to work together with that sketch to understand who the character is, and to come up with that character together is the most important, like together, like huge word. And then to also understand what their method is, and to be up on what their method is, and understand the textbook theories around what method they're working with, so you can communicate together on set using the same lingo. And then so then directly with what Trent has asked is, like, how do you work with them on set? Well, hopefully you've set up your boundaries and your love, because they're highly loving, creative, often over the top genius beings, that you really are connecting on set, like you're in love with what you're both doing, and that they can trust you. And you hear a lot that some actors will test you the first day, and you're not tested as much as if you spend that time in production. Okay, and so then my other issue is, like I said, I don't give enough time to actors, and I need to. I'm more of like a DP director. Like I'm working on this, but I'm like super in love with DPs, and like that's an issue because I need to be more super in love with my actors. And so I think that having the director's book in your back pocket and letting the technical people, the DPs, handle that, and your assistant director is really the most important on a set, because you need to be there for your actors 100%. And also giving them whatever they want and need, no matter what. And so trying your best. So if they have an issue with their wardrobe, then you are trying to fix that with whatever they need. If they have certain requirements on set for food, do those. That they come first, and they need to be protected and taken care of, and protected from the rest of the crew as well, right? To stay in character and to not be bothered with questions that are asked. As much respect as you can give an actor on set is paramount, whatever level you're working at. And I just, again, want to finally say again that I fail in this area, but and I'm being honest about that, but it's honestly what is the most important is the actor.
Very good points. Good points. And you bring up a couple of things that I wanted to touch on, like the director is a master communicator, because they have to work with actors that are sometimes very emotionally into themselves and into the character, and they just have a different perspective when they come on set because they view things a different way. And then the crew, which is more based in logistical, get things done, work here and there. So you have these two types of personalities that are coming at you all the time. And you as a director have to be able to know when to switch to, okay, do I need to be more emotional and, sympathetic to this individual when I'm working with them? And then the crew, okay, can I just tell them how it is and we need to get it done? And they're there, they just want basic information and what they need to get their job done. So yeah, as a director, you're going to be a master communicator. We'll talk about that a little bit later too. But actually next we're going into
Trent, can I jump in on that real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's about that.
John, our special guest, John Artigo, folks. Here we go, program director.
So some of you know, if you've seen, I don't know, any of the things that say like what I do, but primarily writing and directing feature films, television pilots and things like that is what I've done. But it's funny, Sandra, what you just said, because I actually directed a movie once where I had a co-director where I dealt with the actors and he did all the work with the DP and like the visual aspect of the film. Because when I first started directing, I didn't have that part of it. But I was always just good with people. So that aspect really helped me when I was directing actors. But it really depends on what level of actor you're talking about, because when you're doing independent films, oftentimes you're working with people who are coming from a theater background, and that's a whole nother thing to have experience with. Or you have people who are really raw into the film industry and they are now trying to get into films. And sometimes early on, those are the only people you can get, the people who need credits and they need screen time. And that's a whole nother thing to just think about when you're working with people. And then when you finally make a movie where you have like your actors are like big, or they think they're big because they were like on an episode of like 90210 once, they had a line. It's amazing that sometimes people will really think that they have careers that warrant a lot of special attention. And so what's really hard as a director, especially on small sets, because I've never like been hired by Sony Pictures to direct a movie. I've written films, I go out and get money to make them, and I make them. And that's what I've done. So it's always been, I've not been in a studio kind of a system. But working, you have to know obviously what you want, but it's so different. And so the more things you can expose yourself to in working with people, the better you're going to become, because even though you've done it once, a new person is going to react differently. A new movie is going to be an entirely different experience. So it's like you take everything that you can get. But just remember that every actor is a different individual. So what works for this actor and what they need is probably going to be different for this other actor. Some actors like to be told, just you're doing such a great job. They want that back. Some actors feel like if you don't give them a note, they'll think that there's a problem and they're doing something wrong. Some actors don't even need you to say anything. They're just going to come in, they're going to do it, and they're going to be done, and they're going to be quick. So it's always about trying to figure out, what does this person need? Because when you're on set, you don't have time to figure that out. That's why that rehearsal process is so important. When you rehearse and you get to know them, then you're like, oh, I get it. I know what this person needs. And then when you're on set and time really matters, you know what to do to get that person where they need to be. So any experience you can get, take it, use it, build on it, keep it, because you will need it moving forward.
Excellent points. Very good. Yeah. That's the thing about indie film and filmmaking. Every situation is different and all the people are different. So being able to adapt is huge. Adaptability as an indie filmmaker. Good points there. Gerald, anybody else have anything to add before we move on to directing with the crew and working with the crew? Oh, you're good. Okay. So I think it's important to distinguish too, when we're talking with our guests here, is indie film, professional film, like how big is your budget depends on how many people you have on set, and then how things are going to kind of work, how people are going to mingle. So there's so many different ways that it works. But directing the crew and working with the crew. So let's talk like indie film a little bit, and then let's talk about some of the big sets, because Gerald has a lot of experience on some of these big sets. Unfortunately, he didn't jump on that soap opera for 27 years, but he's got some other.
I've had bigger stuff.
Talk about Working with the crew and how you as a director can approach that on some of these big film sets that you've seen successful and stuff that hasn't been successful.
Well, there is a big difference, as everybody has been pointing out. If you work on an indie type film, you have to show a lot of respect to the crew because they are green, they are new at this, and you have to, give a little bit more time for them to understand what you're doing. You have to make your communication simple, clear, and precise. Okay. Otherwise, you'll get chaos. Okay. When you're working on professional sets, and I'm talking about anything that has, a budget or a paid crew, you're in a different world. Okay. There's a higher expectation. You are making a salary, which means you are expected to do the job and do it very efficiently and do it very quickly without mistakes. So the good thing about that is on a professional set, there are separate departments, like each department has a department head, and therefore they're responsible for their own crew beneath them. So as a first AD, director, or producer, you can talk to a certain department head and expect that the job will get done. There is a lot of respect between departments because we all do not touch or go near anything that is in their department and not in your own. That's the mutual respect that we have for each other. And you have to just keep understanding that that's why they're there. They are considered the expert of that field. So you let it to them. Now, there are certain people like the director who can oversee everything and who can tell what is needed, and you just disseminate it from the top down. That's pretty much the way it works. I'll try and make it as short as possible.
No, good points. Good points. Sandra, you've hired and worked with a lot of crew as well too. Can you give us a couple of instances or pointers and some advice on, how you handle working with your crew, whether it be small or a big time crew? I'll let you kind of decide which one you want to comment on.
Yeah, I mean, Gerald just really crushed that one. So no, I don't really have anything to add, to that, except for just being as prepared as you can, on a large set or a small set with what the plan is, and to allow the crew to do what their job is and to not cross lines, as Gerald said. And so just to gain respect from the crew by having your pre-production work done in advance, and to being extremely prepared and respected for that work, and then just being kind and respectful to everyone on set, and allowing everyone to do their jobs.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And I know I'd like to comment too, because a lot of times in directing classes, students don't always find crew. And so they have to do multiple jobs, or they might have one person to come and help them out, or 2 or 3 people. So I think it's important to note that here, LA Film School, you go through all the different classes, so you yourself can be educated on all the different aspects of how to make a film. So in case somebody doesn't come to the table, or you need to be able to step in different areas, you can do that. And also, if you bring somebody on board, you need to know if they're doing a good job or not as well too. So I think it's definitely important to, hey, I might not love audio, or I might not love locations, but I need to pay attention and absorb as much as I can. So that way, as a director, it'll just make me a better director when I'm dealing with folks, so I know where they're coming from. So I think that's important on some of the smaller scale projects where you have multiple people wearing multiple hats. Cool. Let's roll into the first assistant director. Okay, so I know some people might be like, well, the first assistant director, they're helping with the vision too, but how are they executing on set? So we're here with Sandra. Let's go ahead and we'll just jump back into you. Just give us some difference between the director and then just the first assistant director, and then maybe some other assistant, second, some of those down the road there.
Yeah, well, Gerald obviously is going to, speak a lot to this because he's the pro on this. I find, in independent filmmaking, I guess I'll just speak to that it's difficult for me to find an assistant director. It's a hard position to staff.
It is tough. You have to be really on top of the ball.
Right. Yeah. And it's because like someone has to share my vision of what we're doing, and we have to work extremely close, to achieve, what we need to shoot that day. So I'll just start by saying it's always my most difficult position to my most difficult crew position to find. And so therefore, just when you do, that person, is everything to you, because they're the one person that is helping you above all to achieve your vision, I believe. And so you must have an extremely great relationship with them. And when you can find a great first AD, they're worth more than anything in the world. So Gerald is worth billions and billions of dollars, in my opinion, and so they should be treated as such.
Yep, it is important, especially in indie film, pushing that schedule forward. So Gerald, just to kind of help some of the folks at home that might not be familiar with First AD, if I were to hire you as a first assistant director on this show, what can I expect from you, like some of the jobs that you would do and how you would execute it and stuff like that? So let's kind of give them some information on that.
Sure. Okay, so the first AD is the right-hand person of the director.
Mm-hmm.
They are in charge of all of the logistics, which means they tell everybody what to do, where to be, what they should be doing, and how they should be doing it. Okay, they're in charge of the schedule. They break down the script. They create the schedule according to the budget's numbers, and they are the ones who disseminate all that information from the director downward. The first AD is also the most hated person on the set because they are the person who tells everybody what to do. Yet, they are also the most respected person on the set. Now, nobody's going to tell you that, but they do, because they know that if a first AD knows what they're doing and is respectful and is intelligent in what they do and how they do it and efficient, everybody will call them back. And the first AD is the one that has to make the call on everything. They can change the schedule at a moment's notice. They can figure out alternatives if a red flag or an issue comes up. They're the person that will find different things that need to be done in order to accommodate, like, for example, if the actor missed the plane ride or if the camera got broken. I've had a situation where we were in a rowboat 2 miles off the coast of the Pacific Ocean, and the cameraman dropped the camera in the ocean.
Oof.
The only camera, $70,000 worth. So as we were going back to shore, I got on the phone because I was the first AD. I got on the phone to the producer and said, the cameraman just dropped the camera in the ocean. You need to call the camera rental place and have a camera at base camp by the time we get back there in an hour. And it was there. So we lost no time. If I waited and freaked out and didn't get it done, we would have wasted half a day. So that's the difference. Now, the second AD, in case you guys didn't know, is the one that does mostly the paperwork. They complete the call sheet with the first AD's, advice on what things should go where. They're the ones who rearrange the shooting schedule for the next day or days. They are the ones who are in charge of all of the background talent, and they are also in charge of the principal talent up until they get to set, and then it be transferred over to the first AD, and they are the right-hand person of the first AD. So if the first AD is not available, then the second AD will take their place. The second, which in some places outside of the US is called the third AD, is basically the one in charge of all background. And that is the extras, and that is the union and non-union. And they're also the ones responsible on set for placing background and running background to make sure that they're efficient and everything looks good in the background that they should. And they're also the other set of eyes for the first AD and the script supervisor to make sure that continuity is also there, in case you guys didn't know that. So those are the positions of that. And of course, if there's a fourth AD, that is also called a second. And the original second is now called the key second. And there is a difference in pay, just to let you know. So it follows that same hierarchy all the way down. I've had shoots where I've had 15 seconds because I had 4,000 extras.
It's a lot of extras in the background running around.
We filled the stadium.
Nice.
Yeah, it was expensive, but
yeah, those are definitely some excellent points. And when you start to, if you're working on indie film and you bring your project kind of kind of goes a little bit smaller. The director takes on a lot of those roles as the first assistant director, which, as you can see, what Gerald outlined here, that's a lot of responsibility. So in bigger projects, you have the first AD to kind of go through all that stuff. But in smaller projects, you have to take on a lot of those as a director. Now, I will say this, I've worked on a lot of indie films as well too. And there's a lot of people out there that I've come in contact with that you'll probably come in contact with and say, yeah, oh, I can be a first AD. I'm a first AD. I'll be a first AD. And they don't really know what it entails to be a first AD because they've never been on a big budget movie set and seen an actual first AD work. They just think like, oh, I got to help with the schedule, or I just got to put the paperwork together, or I just got to tell a few people what to do. You're really that master communicator that brings it all together. You have to really have a suave silver tongue about you because you're dealing with so many different personalities. So I've been on sets where people hated the first AD because he was not a good communicator, and others where he was good. So you'll come in contact with a lot of people that can just say, yep. Well, you might come in contact with a lot of people that say, oh, sure, I can be a first AD, but be wary of that. All right, that's well. And that, any other comments before we move on there, Sandra, Gerald?
They just need to be very organized too.
Yep. Organized is a key.
And you got to think on your feet. Sometimes you got to think outside the box. Sometimes you got to just wing it, and see what happens. The worst thing you can do is do nothing.
This is true.
Because time is money on a set, and even on indie films, you only have so much daylight. You have only so much time that you could be at that location, and you don't want to wear it out, So a first AD or an assistant director, sometimes they call it if there's no more than one, is valuable. Like Sandra said, if you can find one, keep them, use them a lot. They will make your life as a director so much easier. I don't know how many times. See, I've been both. Okay, I've been a director and a first AD, and the first ADs that I have, I don't care how much I have to pay them. They better be there, because they help. They take all of the logistic load off of my shoulders. I don't have to worry about where the camera goes. I don't have to worry about where the talent is. Are they in wardrobe? Are they in makeup? That is all handled by the first AD. I can deal with the actors. I can deal with the vision. I can deal with the creativeness. I might have to talk to the DP and look at the lighting to make sure it matches what I want as a director. That's what you really need to concentrate yourself on as a director. Let the first AD handle all the other stuff.
I'm going to add to that. It speaks to what we talked about earlier with the director's book and sharing your vision. He or she, the first AD, can do all that so long as you as the director communicate to them your vision and all the information ahead of time so they know what to execute. So the importance of pre-production still holds true here.
Yep.
All right.
It's 3 to 1, by the way.
What's that?
It's 3 to 1, pre-production to production.
Very true. Very true. Good points. All right. So let's move. We got about 15 minutes here. We'll wrap this up in the next 15 minutes or so. So I've got a couple more topics I want to hit on, but let's talk about how to get started and then practice. Let's put those two together because they go hand in hand. So being a director, if you want to be a director, let's just talk about a few ways that you can get started successfully getting those projects under your belt. Here, Joe, we'll start with you since you're up on the screen.
It's a simple fact. Go out there and direct, and it sounds like it's so easy, and it's not. But if you really want to do it and you have the passion, you're going to go do it. And I've held 6 positions professionally, and I did it every time because I wanted it. So don't let anything stop you. So go out there and direct. Now, how do you go out there and direct? Okay, there's plenty of Facebook groups out there, film groups. There's plenty of local film groups. You can go out there. You have friends that have the same interest in film. Go out there and shoot. Go out there and get films done. Now, obviously, some of your films are not going to be great, but it's all about practice like anything else. Like I said, this is a skill that can be learned. It's not something that you're born with. Does it take schooling? Sometimes, yes. And sometimes it just takes repetitiveness, Go out there and learn from your mistakes. And trust me, as a director, I made mistakes on big budget stuff too. But I'll never do it again. So, because you want to get hired again. But the thing about it is there's plenty of people that want to shoot a film out there, maybe for film festivals, which Trent knows tons about. get out there and go do it, offer your services, you know. And the best thing I'm going to tell you is when you do it, barter, you know, go out there and say, hey, you know what, you're a camera guy, you want to shoot something for your reel, I'm a director, I want to direct something for my reel, let's go both shoot something together and let's swap. Okay, you do the camera, I'll do the directing, and let's both get some footage for each other for our demo reels. And guess how much that costs? $0. So go out there, form a crew, you know, of as many people as you can, get a casting pool, you know, of people that you could use. And trust me, everybody's in the same boat. The only issue here is you have to do your own footwork. Okay. You have to go out there, you have to have the mindset, and you have to have the passion to want to do it, because nobody's going to help you in that respect. So I'm going to be brutally honest here. If you want it, go get it.
There you go.
I'm
Good
going to leave it at
points.
that.
Want to go get it. Sandra, let's throw some comments from you. Getting started, what can folks do to kind of develop their skills, practice, get started? What are some advice from you?
Yeah, for me, it's just what I said in the opening is I'm a big believer in the writer director. So writing your own work that you want to shoot and produce. Even if you don't believe you're the best writer, you know, we teach you the skills here at LA Film School to be able to write a short script. And so work on that, you know, because story is story. And it doesn't change, and it's a practice that you make. And so I'd say practice to be a writer that directs. And then if you don't, find a writer that, just like I said, as hard as it is for me to find an AD, you know, like look for that writer out there that you can work with their scripts. And start with shorts, you know, and produce as many shorts as you possibly can. Shorts, music videos, commercials, keep it short. And the shorter the better. So directing works that are 5 minutes long, I highly recommend over directing anything longer, or long shorts, and, you know, even above 10 minutes. You know, keep your work short. Work on your portfolio. So if you can direct a wide range for your portfolio, that is your reel. So if you have a documentary, if you have a narrative, you've got your commercial, a music video, what else am I missing? An experimental piece, possibly working in animation, like that's all fantastic to have a well-rounded reel to get out there. But go get it is what Gerald said. And I say it too, is just don't stop. Like I will never stop. Never, ever will I stop. I won't ever stop writing to direct, you know, as long as I live. And so, you know, when that, you know, it'll never end. And so you have to have, you know, that mentality that yeah, this is who I am. This is my life. I eat, breathe, sleep this, and this is what I'm going to do. My last note is that why I think LA Film School is the best film school in the world is that you have this amazing tech kit that you get, that you pay for, but that our amazing faculty puts together. So you have gear, and it's state-of-the-art gear that you can actually go shoot something this weekend with a small limited crew, like a one-man band, like I call it, and that is acceptable. Currently, that's what I'm doing. Everything I'm directing in this moment, I'm also shooting, and I'm also editing, and writing and producing. The only thing I'm not doing is acting in it, right? But that is directing. And so direct as much as you can, whenever you can, and don't let anything hold you back. And then finally, just with you have the gear, so work with what you have at your disposal. So if you have an amazing house for a location, use it all the time and shoot it. If you have children that you can work with, that your own kids, awesome, do. Siblings, best friends, just amazing locations, props that are interesting. Try to get on the directing train that never stops. So you're constantly in motion and working on your next project. And then of course, post it. So social media, you know, it has been for the last 20 years, but that's how we're being seen, and we're getting, you know, seen by agents, et cetera, through our social media posts. And so be in constant distribution on social media with your work. what did Gerald say again? Yeah, go get it. Go get it every day.
Go get it. Good. Definitely some good points there that I want to kind of highlight. When you start projects, I suggest, and I've suggested this so many times that I've seen students start small, two pages, 3 pages, direct that, and then kind of build from there. Several times have I seen students and even fellow filmmakers start with a 15, 20-page script. And they get so discouraged when the audio doesn't turn out right. They have to do some ADR. They have to do all these reshoots, and it starts costing time and money. And you need those little wins that you start building upon in order to feel successful and to gain your confidence. So when they say start shooting, my advice, start shooting small, practicing the basics of it, and kind of grow from there. And Sandra has a great point. The writer-director, become a writer-director. When I first moved out to California years ago, I had a bunch of gear and I'm like, all right, let's do it. But I had to rely on other people and their scripts. And a lot of times their scripts were just not feasible to shoot. And so just by force of nature, like I took up some screenwriting books and I learned how to do screenwriting so I could write my own stuff, so I could be in control and capable of what I'm shooting. So I know what locations are at my disposal, what actors I have, and know what I can do and execute on that. So it's important, as Sandra was saying, to get the whole package together. And that way you don't always have to rely on people to shoot or get projects done and complete projects. And you yourself can actually do those and execute on them. So definitely some great points there. Great points. Let's wrap it up here with—
Wait, one more thing, Trent.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
One more thing. Here's the thing. A demo reel is not based on an entire short film. Okay, a demo reel is based on little tiny short segments. So go shoot the short segments.
Yeah.
Okay, it's so much easier. You don't need a lot of crew for it. You can go out there, just pick a couple things, couple quick scenes, and you can go shoot it. You can have a demo reel done in a week. I've seen people do it. I've done it myself because somebody asked me for a demo reel once and mine was about 20 years old. So I went out and I got and shot it over the weekend. I called up some friends. They said, hey, what are you doing over the weekend? They said, I don't know. I said, well, I got some food here. And if we can go shoot something, I'll give you a copy of whatever we shoot. They're like, I'm in. Okay. That's what it costs. I mean, if you guys can't afford somebody for a meal to bring them out, to feed them, to thank them, then guess what? You should think something else. But anybody can shoot a demo reel. All right. The other thing is, if you want to start out, shoot some B-roll too. Because B-roll is always helpful, even not just in the school projects, but overall. So shoot some B-roll because you could use that as your transitions in your demo reel from scene to scene, just in case you didn't know that. Little director's trick there. Anyway, so yeah, there's no excuse. And like Trent said and Sandra said, you guys have a tech kit. You guys have a great tech kit.
Oh yeah.
So go use it. If you guys don't shoot one project a month besides school, you're letting it gain dust. Because I know a lot of people who don't have that kit would kill for it. So take advantage of it. Anyway.
Nope. Very good points. Very good points. All right. So let's move on to, let's go talk a little bit about creating your own style. And then we're going to just wrap it up with Gerald giving us some information about the DGA union and maybe how to get involved. If some of you folks are interested in jumping into that, he can help out with that. So just creating your own unique style, you're not going to know it right off the bat. It's not going to be something that you find out today, tomorrow, next week, or maybe it is. So let's just talk about, how you might have approached and how you found your style, Gerald and Sandra, and kind of how that can relate to some of our students.
Sandra, you go first because I'm trying to find something.
Okay, cool. Yeah. It's super important finding your style and what differentiates you from other directors. So my style, I love shooting to a fault. I love shooting the long take. So to those that work with me, they know that I am absolutely in love with the long take to a detriment. But I believe that, that it's what I'm meant to do and be as a director. And so with whatever negativity I take from my love of the long take, I take it because that's my style. And so, no, it doesn't mean that I don't like to edit, and it doesn't mean that I'm lazy. It's just like, this is what I do. And and no one will ever break me from that style because it is who I am. And so that's been my style since I was a little girl shooting on my dad's VHS tape as a babe, you know, and like I said, it's something I can't break. So find your style is unique to you and you alone. And don't let anybody tell you that it's wrong, and they will.
Well, Sandra, that long take, all the more important to work with your actors in pre-production so they can deliver for you on that long take, because timing and execution is super important for those long takes.
And big
sure.
SD cards.
And SD cards, big SD cards. How about you, Gerald? You get your unique style going on there.
My style is pretty simple. I don't waste time on set. Okay. I know what I want. I have a vision of what it is. I have the film edited in my head before I even get on set. Before the camera rolls, I know exactly what shots I need to make the film complete, or whatever it is, commercial, etc. So what I like to do is I spend more of my time on the money shots, the shots that are going to make sense, the shots that are going to tell the story, the shots that are going to make a difference, the shots that's going to bring emotion to the viewer or audience. I don't waste time on the transition shots, like two kids running down a hallway. I had a shoot where this director, I don't understand what he was doing, but 47 takes later of these two kids running down the hallway, they took 90 minutes, wasted about 80 minutes that he could have gotten the shot at the end of the day, which he lost, which would have helped tell the story. So, you know, from my experience and, you know, from working with some of the A-list directors out there, I have learned that spend the time on the shots that are going to end up in the final edit and not on the cutting room floor.
Definitely some good points. And, you know, if you're playing the long game here, you do 5, 6, 7 short films, let's say in a year, you know, put a money shot that's different in each one of those films. And that's what you're going to put on your reel. So every time you shoot something new, experiment with something different that's like your money shot. And then the rest you can, you know, get by with to make your movie happen. But take some time for those shots, you know, to make a couple shots look good. And that's what you're going to pull on your reel. Excellent.
Right.
You know, I'll chime in too.
If you guys have an emotional scene, you know, you want to spend time with that. You want to get the right angles. You want to get the right lighting. You want to get the right performance, because that is what is going to tell the story to the viewer. That's where you want to spend your time. The shots of establishing shots, the shots of a car driving up to the restaurant, you know, those shots are the ones that could end up being cut. So don't waste time on that.
Good points. Good points. And, you know, if you're looking for your style, maybe it's what you like to watch and you want to emulate that. For me, I decided, you know, a while ago that I'm the entertainment filmmaker. You know, I'm not in it for those Oscar winner, emotional, traumatic. I'm there for pure entertainment because I love to watch films for pure entertainment. So I want to entertain people, which means a lot of coverage, a lot of angles, a lot of fast cuts, a lot of edits, fast pace, get in, hit some action, do some comedy, you know, and get out. That's kind of like my style. A little gritty, a little down and dirty, but just fast, 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 go, go, go. High entertainment value, not so much on the deep story, dramatic, long take stuff, but that's just me. So everybody has their own thing, you know, like, and then don't be shy, and educate yourself with other filmmakers that are kind of like that, and, you know, learn from some of these pros that are out there doing it. So definitely a lot of different ways to approach finding your own unique style, and what works for you is what is best. All right, let's wrap this up with Gerald giving us a little bit some information on the DGA here, and if you want to get involved and how students can learn some more about that and maybe the benefits of it moving down, you know, in their career and stuff like that. So give us your spiel, Gerald.
Okay, so DGA is the Directors Guild of America. It is for the directors team, which is the director, ADs, stage managers, associate directors, assistant directors, associate directors, and location managers. So yeah, and there's a reason why the location managers in it, because, short story, they were actually part of the responsibilities of the first AD, and the first ADs eventually said, we don't want to do this anymore, we don't have time for this. So what they did was they spun it off to a different department, but they're so highly recognized and so highly respected by what they do that the DGA invited them into the union. So it's a really important spot. And if you guys take my locations class, you'll know all about it, why it's so important, because I talk more about it there. But anyway, so let's talk about the the DGA training program is really for ADs. Okay, it's the stepping stone to be an AD, not necessarily a director, because most ADs go towards the production management side or UPM. That is really the step that they go. It is a program that has approximately 300 to 350 applications, and they take a whopping 5 to 7 candidates per year. That's
Wow.
it. So your chances of getting in are slim or none. Because I tried to get in, I took the test, and I didn't get in. So, so I can tell you it's very difficult. Anyway, I did it the hard way. I worked, and you need X amount of days to get in there. There's dues. There's a fee to get in, the initiation fees. So, which is a couple $1,000s. If you want to get in by working, you need 600 days as a PA or as a second AD on any kind of venture that has a W-2 payroll. They are not accepting 1099s, and they are not accepting checks, like any business checks or personal checks anymore. So it has to be payrolled. So it has to be substantiated by some kind of legal evidence. And that's pretty much it. I can tell you. I mean, there's a lot more intricate stuff I can go on, but it's a lot more stuff that if you guys want to talk about it, we can talk about it offline.
Okay, no, sounds good. Gerald's information, we'll put that out there. I mean, you can email him if you ask more questions. So I'm going to open it up to some questions, but before we do that, I want to